Good morning. Good morning. I am Audette Fulbright-Fulson, the lead minister here at UU Asheville, and I want to welcome you here today, whether you're a visitor, whether you're a friend, whether you're a newcomer or a longtime member. In here, online, whoever you are, whomever you love, however you identify, whatever brings you here today in love, we are glad to be together. Now, our service today is planned and will be led by the Rev Stacy Mitchell of the UU Society of Oneonta, right? Yes. And our own Deborah Freeman as worship associate. But, in light of yesterday's politically motivated violence in Pennsylvania, I felt like it was important for me to be here with you this morning. These are difficult, dangerous days, and much is at stake. And that only highlights how much it matters that we have each other and that we remember we're here for one another. And I want to begin our time together today with a prayer. So I just want to invite you, take a minute. Find yourself in your body, settle your mind, arrive here in this room, all of us together, and join me in a spirit of prayer or meditation. Holy One, name above name, spirit of life and love that embraces all, be present with us and among us, flow between us, help us feel our connection. We know, we have known for some time that we live in dangerous days, and so much is at stake. Help us catch our breath and comfort us, for we are weary and worn, and many of us carry a heavy heart. Violence of every kind is abhorrent to love, and love is at the center of who we are, what we do, and how we do it. We reject political violence and pray for those affected by it, those who are harmed by it, those whose words and actions incite it, and those who are drawn into its toxic embrace. Heal each and every one of us. Help us heal one another. Give us the courage to speak and act with both bravery and empathy in every word and deed, so that we may reweave the fabric of this nation, folding love into every warp and weft. Holy One, be with us and help us to be with one another, for this is the day we are given. Help us choose to bless the world. Amen, Ashe, blessed be, Aho. Now, before I hand the service back over, since I grabbed it a little bit out of their hands, their very capable hands, I just want to mention that on Wednesday of this week at 1 p.m., I'll be holding a sack lunch for folks who just want to check in together, maybe do a little processing, have some conversation about the emotions of recent days. So you can join me for that in Sandberg Hall. That's Wednesday at 1 p.m. And do also remember this. Folks are feeling very dysregulated right now. Maybe you are as well. Maybe you're not. I hope you're not. But remember to take it slowly. Be very careful and thoughtful about news media that you consume and share. There's a lot of misinformation floating around right now. I want you to get some extra rest, drink water. Remember, we are here for you. I am here for you. And remember, we are here for each other. And now, please prepare your hearts for worship with the gift of our opening music. Good morning, everyone. So as we light the chalice, a symbol of our Unitarian faith, I quote Marjorie Montgomery, "Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift." Please rise in body or spirit to sing our next hymn, 1068, Rising Green, which is in the teal hymnal. And so now let's sing our children and youth to our band book summer program. We want to invite any parents, especially if you're new or visiting, and sending your kids to our religious exploration classes today, to walk out with your children so you can meet their group leaders and find out where to pick up your child after worship. So now let's sing our children out.
As we settle into worship, let's have a moment of silent meditation.
Now is the time to acknowledge our joys or sorrows with a ritual of water and rocks. For all that grieves our hearts, we add salt to brine the water in this vessel, seeded from the water of our water communion. For all that brings our hearts joy or celebration, we scatter flower petals to symbolize our happiness or contentment, also seeded with water from our water communion. If you have shared a joy, know we rejoice with you. If you have shared a sorrow, know you are held in love and care by this community. We add these last rocks for all the joys and sorrows of our community carried by those who are not present with us today. Our community is one community, gathered or apart. And now Deborah will share a reflection.
For my reflection this morning, I'm going to share a story about our family dog, Pinot Noir. And I may cry. It seemed timely since she died almost exactly 1 year ago. Simon, can you share the picture of Pinot? There she is, yeah. Pinot is different than other dogs. We called her Cat Dog. She would not get up when we came home. We knew she was aware of us because we would see her eyes move as she laid on her bed, but she did not get up. The only time she got really excited was when my partner Roger got his backpack on and his hiking pants because she knew then there would be a hike coming. So she seemed like Roger's dog. But I learned that she also cared about me when I brought her home from the vet and I was showing Roger all of the tumors that riddled her abdomen. And tears were streaming down my face. And Roger was trying to help Pino lay down, but she couldn't do it by herself at that point. And he was saying, come on, Peen, and trying to bring her over to her bed. She wouldn't do it. She just stood right next to me, touching me. And that was when I knew that, this is what I learned from her, is that you can't always know what's in the heart of another creature or a person, for that matter. So that was the lesson that I learned from our dog, Pinot Noir.
Thank you, Deborah. I realize I jumped over my reading, so I'm going to share that. It flows into the sermon anyway. So I have the reading from Sky Woman. It's in the book by Robin Wall Kimmerer from Braiding Sweetgrass. She fell like a maple seed, pirouetting on that autumn breeze. A column of light streamed from a hole in the sky world, marking her path where only darkness had been before. It took her a long time to fall. In fear or maybe hope, she clutched a bundle tightly in her hand. Hurtling downward, she saw only dark water below. But in that emptiness, there were many eyes gazing up at that sudden shaft of light. They saw there a small object, a mere dust mote in the beam. As it grew closer, they could see that it was a woman, arms outstretched, long black hair billowing behind her as she spiraled toward them. The geese nodded at one another and rose together from the water in a wave of goose music. She felt the beat of the wings as they flew beneath her to break her fall. Far from the only home she'd ever known, she caught her breath at the warm embrace of soft feathers as they gently carried her downward. And so it began. The geese could not hold the woman above the water for much longer, so they called a council to decide what to do. Resting on their wings, she saw them all gather. Loons, otters, swans, beavers, fish of all kinds. A great turtle floated in their midst and offered his back for her to rest upon. Gratefully she stepped from the goose wings onto the dome of his shell. The others understood that she needed land for her home and discussed how they might serve her need. The deep divers among them had heard of mud at the bottom of the water and agreed to go find some. Loon dove first, but the distance was too far, and after a long while, he surfaced with nothing to show for his efforts. One by one, the other animals offered to help, otter, beaver, sturgeon, but the depth, the darkness, and the pressures were too great for even the strongest of swimmers. They returned grasping for air with their heads ringing. Some did not return at all. Soon only little Muskrat was left, the weakest diver of all. He volunteered to go while the others looked on doubtfully. His small legs flailed as he worked his way downward, and he was gone for a very long time. They waited and waited for him to return. fearing the worst for their relative, and before long, a stream of bubbles rose from the small, limp body of Muskrat. He had given his life to aid the helpless human, but then the others noticed that his paw was tightly clenched. When Muskrat opened it, it was a small handful of mud. Turtle said, "Here, put it on my back and I will hold it." Sky Woman bent and spread the mud with her hands across the shell of the turtle. Moved by the extraordinary gifts of the animal, she sang in thanksgiving and then began to dance, her feet caressing the earth. The land grew and grew as she danced her thanks from the dab on Turtle's back until the whole earth was made. Not by Sky Woman alone, but the alchemy of all the animal's gifts coupled with her deep gratitude. Today, they formed what we know as Turtle Island, our home. Like any good guest, Sky Woman had not come empty-handed. The bundle was still clutched in her hand. When she toppled from the hole in the sky world, she had reached out to grab onto the tree of life that grew there. In her grasp were branches, fruits, and seeds of all kinds of plants. There she scattered them on to the new ground and carefully tended each one until the world turned from brown to green. Sunlight streamed through the hole from the sky world, allowing the seeds to flourish, while grasses, flowers, trees, and medicines spread everywhere. And now that the animals, too, had plenty to eat, many came to live with her on Turtle Island. So in contrast to the Native American origin story that we just heard of Sky Woman, it describes the beginning of life on Earth. And we also have our Judeo-Christian stories that dominate Western culture. And actually, when I reflect on chapter 1 of Genesis, the origins aren't really that much different on how we look at creation stories of Earth. Verse 8 begins, God called the dome sky, and there was evening, and there was morning, the second day. And God said, let the waters under the sky be gathered together into one place, and let dry land appear. And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered he called seas, and God saw it was good. And so I kind of thought about how would it sound if Sky Woman was used instead or with God. Then God, starting in verse 11, then God, or Sky Woman, said, let the earth put forth vegetation, plants yielding seeds, and fruit trees of every kind on earth that bear fruit with seed in it according to their various kinds. And it was so. The land produced vegetation, plants bearing seed according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds. And God, or you could say Sky Woman, saw that it was good. And God, or Sky Woman, said, let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds, the livestock, the creatures that move along the ground, and the wild animals, each according to their kind. And it was so. The stories remain similar in some ways, but begin to diverge at maybe around verse 26, when it says in the Bible, then God said, let us make humankind in our image according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all creatures that move along the ground. So God created mankind in his image and image of God. And in the image of God, he created them. We can reflect on the story of Sky Woman, sharing the earth compared to other creation stories, including the Bible. Even science has its own stories of origin, which have been scientifically documented in the physical existence of our world. And as humanity evolved in the first few centuries of the first millennium, Translating from oral to written documentation, some debate has been given over how the Old Testament has been written and translations, ruler, subduer, or it has been translated as caretaker and steward. I believe that religious views are reflective of our cultural understandings in which we are raised in. In other words, religion is a cultural expression of the origins and meaning of life within a culture we are born to or have chose to adopt. Whether that's patriarchy, matriarchy, earth-centered, just as examples. In Unitarian Universalism, we have our values or principles that have guided us in how we live out our faith into the world. And we have many groups in UU on human rights, education, and social justice and how we live out our faith, the meaning making of our lives through these values. And there are different Unitarian Universalist manifestations of our pluralistic faith. We have our identities as UUs, sometimes Buddhist UUs, Christian UUs, pagan UUs, Jewish UUs, and so on. But what makes us Unitarian Universalists as a whole are the values and principles of which we live out and how we live them out. It's a praxis of theology. And within our Unitarian Universalist faith, we have UU Ministry for the Earth. We have Black Lives of UU, known as Blue. Prison ministries within the Church of the Larger Fellowship that is online. Uplift, which is our LGBTQ plus ministries. We have UU the Vote, among others. So our pluralistic faith includes our own personal faith views that we engage in, but we do it as a congregation together through our values. Our praxis of theology, our covenantal faith with each other, not a creedal faith. So the groups just mentioned are not a focus of what we believe, but whatever that belief is, we have a way to engage that belief in the spirit of Unitarian Universalism, putting faith into action, a praxis of theology. Now, one of our Unitarian Universalist national groups out there is Unitarian Universalist Animal Ministries, and I know this congregation is a member. UU Animal Ministries' mission statement is to promote understanding and awareness of animals as fellow sentient beings in line with the 7th UU principle and to provide animal advocacy ministry, education, and support to our members and the church community as a whole, which our 7th principle has stated respect for the interdependent web of all of existence of which we are part. And I'm sure, as you know, we have updated language on the value of interdependence, which now states we covenant to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation. We will create and nurture sustainable relationships of care and respect, mutuality, and justice. We will work to repair harm and damaged relationships. The Unitarian Universalist Animal Ministry states they have 4 guiding principles for themselves. One is intersectionality, taking seriously the interactions of racial justice, gender, poverty, class, ability, animal exploitation, environmental degradation, and more. They say we seek to build a world that is more just, inclusive, and equitable. Internationalism, based largely in North America, we serve Unitarian Universalists and Unitarian Universalists throughout the world. Interfaith, we value the work of other faith movements and collaborate to build wisdom and effectiveness. And the 4th one is interdependence. Ecologically, we protect the integrity of the web of life that humans and non-human animals share. And they say we do good work not just for non-human animals, but for people and all life, knowing that our connection with a more than human world helps us live most fully, deeply, and authentically. So for those who wish to support the welfare of animals and awareness of animals as fellow sentient beings, our theology certainly supports this endeavor. Actually, for quite some time, that maybe some of you did not know, Unitarians were instrumental in the formation of the ASPCA, Animal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. And they state about their founder, Henry Berg, this: while on assignment in Russia as an American diplomat, a New Yorker named Henry Berg stopped a carriage driver from beating his fallen horse. The year was 1863, and it was then and there that Berg realized the effect he could have on the world. He soon resigned his post and returned to New York to devote his energy to the prevention of cruelty to animals, and in 1866, he founded the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. So Berg attended First Congregational Church of New York City, the precursor for Unitarian Church of All Souls. Berg brought along other Unitarians and Universalists, including Horace Greeley, Universalist editor of the New York Tribune, Louisa M. Elcott, Unitarian and author of Little Woman. Also, Unitarian minister Ralph Waldo Emerson served as honorary vice president of the Massachusetts chapter. The ASPCA states its mission. They state it is to save animals from dogfighting, puppy mills, hoarding, and other cruelty situations. They state we provide animals medical care and behavioral rehabilitation and help thousands of animals find loving homes every year. We respond to emergencies when disaster strikes and fight for stronger laws to protect animals. Animals are certainly a blessing at so many levels of our lives and on earth as a whole, and they are worthy of protection. What I do know from my own experience in having a dog in my life is that my dog understands in his own way that we are in an emotional symbiotic relationship with each other. If his welfare is taken into account, he reciprocates that appreciation. Some dogs serve and protect human life. Emotional support animals, service animals helping the blind, helping those with seizures, and supporting those with balance issues. They also serve, as we know, at fire departments. They serve with law enforcement, engage in rescue with the Coast Guard, engage in mountain rescue, among other human life supporting efforts. It is now said that dogs can help sniff cancer in its early stages. It has been studied that animals can detect pressure changes in the weather before humans can detect these weather patterns with their senses and can warn others of impending weather catastrophes. I lived in New Orleans for a bit, and in one of the increasing frequent tornadoes that is now happening in New Orleans, I was talking with my parents on the phone last year about a tornado that was due to hit west of me by many miles, and to not worry, I was safe. I stopped looking at the weather app while I was on the phone with them. In the middle of the conversation, my dog Copper began to bark and did what he never does when I'm at home. He shook and tried to hide in the corner of in my house. I told my parents that I should pay attention to the strange behavior that my dog Copper was doing, and I hung up. Then the tornado warning went off on my phone, and I looked at the weather app with the wind suddenly picking up out of nowhere in my neighborhood, and I saw on the app that the tornado was less than 1 mile east of me, not several miles west of me. The wind mellowed and my dog came back to the living room as if everything was normal again as soon as that tornado passed. For those of us that have dogs and horses and cats, among other animals in our lives, it seems that we all have stories of our animals' companions' super capacities, including their very special one, unconditional love. I adopted my dog Copper from one of the many nonprofit animal shelters across this country. Sometimes when we adopt animals, we learn that they have been abused. Often with patience and kindness within the realm of time, our kindness softens their fears, and their inherent love begins to shine more and more. And in terms of intergenerational human trauma, I don't think we humans are much different in that regard. Love heals, period. Animals can be a gateway to explore and deepen our own experiences in life, whether in a secular context or our faith-based context. And a historical perspective of animals throughout history is also important, and I want to pivot just briefly to this point for a minute or two. So for a scientific perspective, I'm going to begin a way too brief history of Earth's evolution of about 5 billion years ago. 5 billion years ago. Over geological time, scientists have classified certain eras of time leading up to what today is known, some of you might know this, the Anthropocene era, the new era of geological time that many scientists have given this name to, of when humans began having a significant impact on the health of our Earth, which many agree began in the early 20th century. Geologists and astrophysicists have studied the beginning of Earth with the oldest rock testing at almost 5 billion years. 350 million years ago, continents were colliding. Sharks come into existence 323 million years ago. Tectonic forces continue forming continents. Birds diversify at significant rates about 50 million years ago. Early forms of humans, Homo erectus, began to spread over 1 million years ago. And the spread of Homo sapiens under 500,000 years ago. The end of the Stone Age occurs. Diversity of wildlife and plant life continue to flourish. We fast forward quite a bit. The Holocene period begins around 9,700 BCE after the last glacier period, with 1950 making a new geological era now, stated by many, where humans significantly shape the outcome of balance that Earth has maintained on her own for millennia. And so we are now in the Anthropocene era. So that was about a 1-minute geology lesson spanning 5 billion years. I bring this up because this is the point where everything that has been in relative balance for millennia turns to a trajectory of diversity increasingly becoming off balance quite quickly. We see the impact of war, of industrialization, of dominating Earth, along with Earth's animals being endangered in ways that have never, ever occurred in geological time, let alone human time on Earth, until about 100 years ago. In the Anthropocene age, we are now at a stage of losing diversity at rapid rates. We have individualized life through a reductionist movement to serve our private selves, often seeing worth in what is commodified for our own purposes with tragic results in our collective lives. Life has broken itself into private parts that cannot sustain itself without the love and the other parts that it has torn itself from. If our climate change disaster has taught us anything, it is that we are interconnected to every part of our Earth. Millions of bison once roamed centuries ago. Other wildlife thrived on land and in sea. These numbers haven't only been drastically cut in the time of colonialism, but in the time of the Industrial Revolution. In order to see our Earth and animals who live on Earth with us humans, repair must occur. Some are already engaged in this repair, and one of those is to engage in animal ministry activities. Again, our new value of interdependence states, we covenant to protect Earth from all beings, protect all beings from exploitation. We will create and nurture sustainable relationships of care and respect, mutuality and justice, and we will work to repair harm and damaged relationships. So much repair in our world and life is needed right now. Our dogs and pets can point us to a way of relying on each other as companions, as well as other mammals who share our earth. The promise of joy to be found in our world, just as Sky Woman saw all the blessings found in the animal world at the beginning of time for humans on this earth. As we came into this world, according to the story of Sky Woman, we can once again realize the need to deepen our connection to Earth, to return from what we separated from. The seeds that plant all the foods and beauty of our Earth, the land and the rivers and the birds and the insects and the buffalo and the deer and the elephants and the lions and the wolves and the coyotes and the domesticated cats and dogs of our lives. They are gateways to see all the love and beauty that is here on Earth, everything that is so sacred. Earth has offered so much beauty and love from the animal world, and humanity over the years has contributed to so much suffering. And we can help, whether adopting an animal, donating to wildlife causes, volunteering at a humane society or ASPCA, becoming vegetarian, or doing advocacy work. It can't all be done at once, but there's something to engage in. UU Animal Ministry states that at the heart of the religious impulse is the desire to lessen suffering and to extend justice and compassion to those we might otherwise exclude from our moral consideration. In that vision, may our religious impulse always help with a vision of lessening suffering in this world, and to always bring compassion to not just all of humanity, but to all of life. May it be so, and amen. And now, please rise in body and spirit as we sing hymn number 203, All Creatures of Earth and Sky.
Thank you, Joyce. Now is the time when we invite visitors to introduce themselves. Do we have any visitors here this morning? It's voluntary, but if you'd like to introduce yourself, just give us your name and where you're visiting from. The microphone will be handed to you so that everybody can hear.
I really don't need a microphone.
Oh, you do.
I'm Lauren. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just moved here about 2 weeks ago from Charleston, South Carolina. I went to the UU church there. I watched y'all's live stream last week, and it was so affirming and brought me to tears in the best way possible, so I'm so happy to be here in person now.
My name is Walter Ezel. I am with the Greenville Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in South Carolina. I'm on my way to a cabin in Avery County, and this was only 2 miles out of the way. How could I not come by? And I'm so glad I did. It was a beautiful sermon, a beautiful service.
I'm Sally Smith Adams. I live in Homosassa, Florida. I belong to the Nature Coast UU, and I'm up visiting a friend who's celebrating her 90th birthday.
Hi, I'm John Burkhart. I'm from the Emerson UU congregation in Woodstock, Georgia. Just enjoying a nice vacation near a beautiful city, and really wanted to come in and check it out. Just a wonderful campus and congregation, so thank you for having me.
Hello, my name is Hakeem Oliver. Me and my buddies here, we're from Cincinnati, and we're just vacating in your wonderful city.
Nick Jackson, also from Cincinnati, and we try to worship in different places wherever we go. Thanks for welcoming us.
Oh, hello everyone. My name is Rebel, also from Cincinnati, Ohio, and I'm just looking for a church away from home. Thank you so much.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, everyone.
I don't need a microphone, and I'm not new, but I would like you all to welcome my friend, Lori Hammel from Waynesville, who contributed to our music today. It's also a member of the Asheville Symphony.
And now, let's take a moment to wave at Trevor. Trevor is our connections coordinator, and he would love to meet with you after the service, especially if you have any questions. Our announcements run as slides at the beginning of the service. If you missed them, refer to Thursday's weekly e-news, as everything is described there. If you don't receive the e-news, email us at information@uuasheville.org. Our community plate recipient this month is the Minister's Discretionary Fund. You can donate by check, but be sure to write community plate in the memo line. All cash donations will be split with our community plate partner. You can also donate online. The work and ministries of this congregation are entirely supported by the generosity of our members and friends. We celebrate your generosity each Sunday with music and thanks. You make us possible, and we give thanks for you. The offering will now be gratefully collected. gifts of your time, presence, wisdom, and resources. We are grateful. Now please rise in body or spirit to sing hymn number 175. We celebrate the web of life.
May we all work tirelessly for peace, for justice, for democracy in our interconnected lives, transforming our lives through the power of love. Please rise in body or spirit to sing Long Time Sung. And now you are invited to join us in Sandberg Hall for social time. Thank you for the wonderful music.
We do a family reunion in Wisconsin. We don't have family up there, but everybody comes from the East Coast and the West Coast. We've been congregating there since before I was born. So it's a long time. So I spend a week up there, and then I make the trip longer by camping. So I hear you're going to Wales.
Yes, we told you that.
Yes, well, no, everybody knows.
We're walking the Pembrokeshire path. Yeah.
Wonderful.
That's not in September. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. We're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I still have second cousins there. So my grandfather came from there, and his sisters all stayed. So I guess they might be cousins, but we call them second cousins, but yeah, so we go over sort of periodically to do things. But we haven't been in 12 years or so, but
Okay.
so I'm looking forward to hearing how it goes. Yeah. So nice to have you here. Yeah. I also wanted to straighten this.
And you know, the minister just totally skipped over and which was okay. It was okay. Turned out long enough. You got hit.